Hello and welcome. It is Sunday, the 18th day of June, 2017. Let's do some crypto trading, or at least take a look at some of the charts, talk about some of my ideas, keyword my ideas, what I think, and of course, as I've written, everything you do, all your risk, all your rewards, they are assumed yourself. And if you're looking to buy something, why are you buying it? If you can answer it, or you can answer to me when you're selling it or why you're selling it and all those things, I think you're doing pretty darn near good. We'll go over Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dash, Litecoin, XBY, and probably a few other ones. So let's get started. Starting off with the daily Bitcoin chart, down 114 or a little over 4.33%, as it is down towards this flat neutrality point, 18 average as it stands in here. So you've had the situation where you went below the band. Is it going to correct over? Because support's been established. If you're breaking below here, I'll aggressively, as aggressive as I can and to the best situation that I can, look to see this thing go down to here and make a small wager on such. And right now, all I can see is stuff like the tethers. There is, I think at some point, going to be like gold and silver backed cryptos. I am really enthusiastic to see them, but I haven't found them yet. But that's again on the break of it. Let's shorten up the time frame. This is the 4-hour time frame. And opposite type of strategy. You establish resistance, come back to the band. And since coming back to the band, it has found support at the 18 average of lows, resisting the 18 average of highs, and is now very close back down lower to the 18 average of lows, seeing sustained weakness in this area here. Sustained weakness is when it falls below there and it doesn't quickly rebound and shows further declining indicators. Then you'd be looking to retest the previous low, and it could even just break this area and just have fast moves, sort of like this. It's extremely common for that to be the case as well, actually. But remember, failed move, fast move. When you have a situation where you're trying to revert a trend, like in here, and you go through the steps like you're normally, like I've talked about, and then it fails, and ultimately the 18 average band goes back in a declining facet, thus making a lower high on the 18 average band here. Price action often can have some pretty serious moves. That's just something I've noticed and something to keep in mind. But breaking out above this, after this, it's glory days again. At least it's a move you would expect a previous high. Moving on now to Etherum against the US dollar, priced in at 353, down to down 10 basis points, or 2.94%. Now let's just think about that number and how this chart looks for a second. It is down about 3%. This is where you can see the numbers on its movements up here, as well as highs and lows. But anyway, it's down 3. And it's got a extremely low volatile hanging in there situation right now, riding the 18 average of highs. So technically, this is a low volatile pause situation move in the bullish maneuver within this 18 average. Okay, I think I said that well, or well enough. But the whole key thing is, what happens if, say you find out, I don't know how much the S&P is, but let's just assume it falls 107 points from 3,000. You're going to be hearing people talk about the stock market crashing at a negative 2.94% loss. That's here, it's just a pause. And if you look at the wildness of the movements, like this day, 110 low, and what's that, 15, 16? That's like, the Dow Jones has fallen from 15,000 to 11. How you doing? People are panicking like no other. Oh, this is just a move here. Just a move. Just a move. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a little over a week, about a week. Oh yeah, how did the stock market do this week? Yeah, it went from 8,000 to 18,000. No, it didn't do that. But that's what Ethereum's doing, and 2%, 3% and nothing move, 5% and nothing move. It's just wild. Anyway, I've talked about the chart. It's got that nice bullish setup. Let's shorten it out now. Looking at it on the 4-hour time frame, this thing is going to be ready to pop one way or another. I've talked so much about sideways after an up move. I guess the same is on a down move as well. But I always look for that failed move, fast move, because a situation where if you have this occur, you have this nice little fall from, like, let's talk the volatility again, 400 to 270-ish. And then you're able to rebound yourself and give a great setup, because band flattens. And since this point, look, this move in here seems so strong. Now, this final candle really isn't too strong. But I'm also a believer that a failed setup is like failed move, fast move. And this is a good setup. And so this leads me to believe that within this sideways range, it's going to be that the sideways range is between 280 and 400. And I would expect a good further momentum on the break of either side. And within it, all you can do is day trade it within its actual movement short term. But when this all breaks, oh, price action's in at 425, 430. Yeah, let's break 5. That's going to do it. And it probably will. That's how I look at that. Oh, price action's in at 247, 248. Where did we come from? Well, probably at least down to 2. And one way of looking at it is look at the size difference of those lines that I put in. The 200 is more close to around the same size as the last one. I'm showing a logarithmic chart. And that's another area where you can see, yeah, that looks like an area where a bounce may go towards, and then you can do whatever strategies. Well, maybe buy it around 200 or 185 or something. Again, you assume your own risk rewards, but that's the things I would be thinking of within, of course, that type of technical indication. Looking at the daily chart on the cross of Ethereum to Bitcoin, and same thing as yesterday. It's just having this sideways movement. It's still got a little bit of price to go down because of the band, and still got a few more days before the band will catch up. Now, in the previous segment, I talked about 120. Well, you could even make a case here that, you know what, I could even maybe try to get in this area here at around 110. Just an idea. If, of course, that situation happens, and it'll be interesting. Actually, no, I was thinking about in US dollar terms, so throw that all part aside. However, on a break here, and you're looking to buy the Ethereum Classic over the US dollar, then that's what I'd be looking for. Because when I do like a go from something new, I literally paused after the Ethereum chart in dollars, and I took a couple minutes, and then I put this one up. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to pause the tape, and I'm going to be 2 or 3 minutes later, but for you, it's going to be very instant. Let's move on to Dash now, and it is the 4-hour chart priced in US dollars, 180. Yeah, okay. When it rallied from 150 up to 190, oh, where do I buy? Well, if you want to put an order in, it was at 150, maybe there. Oh, how you doing? You're up 30. But markets oftentimes come back to where they came from. And I already know if it breaks resistance and breaks well past 200, where I'm going to be looking to buy again, that would be about 190-ish, because if this breaks out soon, this is where it's going to be coming from. Sort of like how obvious 150 was. And when we look at Dash crossed with Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, what does this pattern tell you? And I've talked a lot about how I really did trust this rally. Right in here, there's the volume for this rally. Markets go sideways. What did I do during this sideways period? I accumulated. because I have a good indication, good feeling, good research that this is going to go higher. Now it's in a situation where it has broken resistance here, showing very good momentum with a newly beautifully rising 18 average momentum showing higher. So when I talk about situations when you get it, it sure as heck looks like it within this chart. And we look at it now on the 1 hour time frame, and several nice high, back to the band. Of course, here it was still in the sideways mode. Now in an uptrend, here we go, new high, higher low to the band. Even though it's a lower high, the band is still rising, higher low in the band. Now this makes a higher high on both of these. Is it going to make a move back to the band, come back to where it was short term? Well, maybe. But it's definitely showing good bullish indication on this short term. Let's go daily now. And it's at the resistance area from in here. This, I've been talking about how I loved how this support was just that within what was resistance just a few weeks beforehand. And it's got this nice uptrend, and well, it looks to me it's going to continue to move forward, and at least as we move later into June, into July, have some nice gains. But what do we know about these situations when market break resistance as far as the size of the moves? I've talked about this before. Look at the size of these moves in here when it was in a huge, nice bull market. Expect a good chance for the same to continue with this, and really practically every single one of these crypto charts when the indications of great bullish setups have turned from a setup to now in play. And that's what I see happening here, is the bullish setup is in progression to going into play. Moving on to ETC, Ethereum Classic. Oftentimes markets come back to where they came from. Notice this level here and how this resistance and then support didn't go back to it. So sometimes you have to be pretty darn near fast, because it actually did come back to it. It was just right here. However, the current pattern, sideways action from the gain, clear lower support level. You can find some more lower ones in here, a lower higher one here. It's above that, and then where it's been standing at previous highs. Remember in Dash, I was saying I like how support was being held at previous resistance. If it stays and holds above here for like into Tuesday, Wednesday, it's pretty much the same sort of pattern, and it's just going to continue to pick up strength. At that point, the 18 average band would catch up with it. But look at the size of the move on break. What do we expect again here on break? So just something to keep in mind. Nice looking pattern. And moving on to Litecoin with two amazing big days, breaking the 12 handle number up to 18. That's a gain of about 50% from the area of where it broke out from. And it's at a stage now where, unless I know something different, there's about a 0% chance that I'm going to be buying at this level. But I do find this volume more than interesting, because usually you would get similar high volumes. It's the same as April, May levels in the area of such. But I would expect that more towards later on within this. Is this sparking something? I'm definitely going to be looking in towards scalping in. Question is, what I would normally do is try to determine when a good small entry point is. Definitely moves towards the 18 average band. That's an easy one for me. 38.2% down from here to here, as well as 61.8% down. These are some of the things that I'm going to be looking for. I'm also going to be looking for things like in here. You see how it goes way up, and I want to see it settle in. So in here, we have it come back to the band. Okay, and now, and this is in the situation where at least in this point, after this move, you can at least get good bullish indicators to take advantage of this move. So even if I can just take advantage of one move, I'm the type of guy that likes to get in and out. And in a situation here, the beauty part about getting in here and getting out wherever it is that you get out is that you are in and out fast for a decent gain. But at this stage, I really can't be buying. Now, I did buy the most previous WebBot July report, and there's some interesting indications in there that this thing, and even the reports before, some really, really big moves. So to think a 50% move is big, no. In fact, this kind of is like a sweet setup. If established resistance is here, it comes back to the band, and then boom. I mean, that's the type of thing I can see. It's not like it's done it before, as this is before. And this move was from like 33 basis points to 180. How you doing? Or over 200 rather. Moving on to XRP or Ripple, and there's nothing much I want to do with this one right now. The 18 moving average of lows was declining, now flattening. The 18 average of highs barely declining, moving into a flattening situation. Okay, up day or up move, finding higher low, but I need a lot more for this thing to give me any bullish indications on strength, because this 18 average of band at least has to be rising, and then more has to occur at that. However, the only things I can do is just that, just continue to look at this chart every day, and if I see something, then I'll look for it. Other than that, all I can do is, if it breaks support, is maybe look to buy somewhere down here, and the only way I can do that is by having buy orders in. Moving on to the daily chart for NXT, which on this move, breaking key resistance at 80 and moving to 240. I mean, 3x from established resistance. Just saying, just saying. Therefore, since that move to 240, a little bit of a downtrend in here, a lot of an uptrend in here. 18 average is rising. It's at the 18 average of highs as it stands. So it's like the earliest you can be looking for a correction if you're waiting for stabilization, but you're still paying decent prices. However, you're getting potential for decent volatility. No break above here, getting it at 15 basis and playing it up to 30, 40, 50, not a bad idea. Markets oftentimes come back to where they come from. You're looking for buy orders, somewhere around the 80 number is where I would be looking. XEM, New Economic Movement, NEM. Its daily time frame, a lot like Ripple's, maybe even a little bit worse right now, as its 18 averages aren't showing much flattening support, barely trying to on the lows, not quite on the highs, breaking down below the support. Well, where's the last place I see it came from? And it's in this area here. But definitely there's nothing bullish right now about this chart. And it's, of course, more bearish right now than it is on the bullishness side. So be very cautious, of course, with this one. BTS is BitShares. And similar, I guess, to the NXT chart. But this one can be very, very, very difficult, very risky. It's now at the 18 average of high, so enough time and price has came by to now start to barely put this in a correctionary mode. Markets oftentimes come back to where they came from, and the highest spot that it came back from is a decline of quite some distance. So again, be very, very careful. If you were able to get in here, or even within this breakout period, I don't know why you don't have your profits if you haven't profit taken some, unless of course you know something that I don't know. And for that, well, knowledge is power. But big move up, a little bit of consolidation. It hasn't went down much in relevance to its gain at this stage. Sometimes it doesn't have to, but just because of that note, it does have major downside action that could happen. And let's finish this off with XBY, Extra Bytes. This is found on only a few other exchanges like Cryptopia, the currency, Cryptopia Currency Exchange Network, C/CEX, and Yobit, YOBIT. Markets oftentimes come back to where they came from, and that happened again. As previous support, well, found out that it hit resistance. Now, for me, this worked out well. Oftentimes, though, markets usually pierce extra below, and maybe it still might, but this is a perfect hit. But for me, a perfect gain is if it were to have come down here, because I mean, this works out because you sell in this area and then you buy in this area with a little bit of buys up here as well. And then you're able to get it back. So I've got what I sold back. So this is all good now. And for me, I'm going to be looking for a break of this resistance and then a test of this high. And I'm not going to be an aggressive seller here at all, or really anywhere until it can get up towards even this area towards here. Now, I think they're making an announcement today at some point, but I don't follow and I don't like the fundamental news too much. But I'd like to know, because if I can get indications, then I can turn the fundamentals into technicals. And that's like the Webbot report. I mean, I don't like to say fundamental news, but they give you an indication, okay, this coin has this level, or it has these situations and these temporal markers. And then I like to look at that on a technical analysis. So if he's giving a price number, like back when they were stating 2,700 for whatever the number was for Bitcoin, or there's this number here, that number there, I look at it technically and say, how does that make sense? And if it does, I'm like, oh, this is interesting how it coincides. And oftentimes his information does. And same thing, of course, if I know, say, some news of something's coming out or something of that nature, well, what's that going to do on a technical level for price movement? And those are the things that I think about. But, of course, I've talked more about the extra bytes, the key numbers. The Fibonacci numbers are working like a gem right now, that I would highly expect that if this thing breaks, or pretty much when this thing breaks, up above here, that the 3233 is going to be known as a very big key area, sort of like the 1500 is that of a key area that I talked about back in here. So thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.